with Inside Star Citizen called Shipping Out. It's ship sale time. It's this is going to be the highlight of. Is this the last ISC of the year? Probably. This is where the drought begins. This is where content creators thrive or dive. So here we go.
Alpha 322 is right around the corner and available for testing now on the public test universe. But arriving with it are 3 newly flyable and drivable vehicles from manufacturers as varied as Apoa, Origin, and Drake. Let's find out more.
That's true.
So in Alpha 322, we have 3 new vehicles available, and they cover a huge range of both size and role, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about them. Let's start with the most exotic, the Apoa SaltEMike.
I'm not gonna. Never been a fan. Never been a fan of the Apoa ships. Just, I don't know. Just never liked them.
The SaltEMike is a medium fighter from Apoa, but it doesn't follow the traditional medium fighter role that we see with human manufacturers.
Why would it? Why would it? It needs to be better in some way, right?
It has, for its size, quite a lot of health and classic Xi'an high maneuverability, as well as being extremely flashy in both its function and form.
The idea with the alien ships is that we don't want them just to feel alien. We want them to feel different within their own rights, within that kind of alien spectrum. On the Gattax side of things, we've really kind of tried to make them feel quite industrial, quite strong and chunky. Whereas on the Apoa side of things, we took more inspiration from the insect form. So we want them to feel...
You know, I never really put 2 and 2 together that these are 2 Xi'an manufacturers and we're starting to get like varied manufacturers in even the alien species. I guess that's what happens when your game doesn't come out for a decade.
A lot faster, a little bit more kind of aggressive,
cool,
and a bit more attack in their shapes.
When you first see the SaltEMike, you'll clearly see the family lineage between itself and the Katual, which is the light fighter from Apoa.
It's their kind of second Xi'an ship that they've made, and it's really bringing kind of a big brother.
They both have 2 stages, or 2 transform states, from landed to the flight pose, and you see that very classic Apoa flowering transformation from a more horizontal position to the more vertical flight and combat position.
It's still got the kind of nice big transforming kind of style when it transforms from landed mode into flight mode, but we've really tried to kind of push the alien aesthetics a little bit further this time, both interior and exterior. One of the kind of more unique elements, I think, on the SaltEMike is its cockpit. Not just the space inside, but actually how you enter it. It's got this really kind of exotic, shall I say, seat that comes down to collect you from the player space, and that kind of all floats down and takes you back into your actual pilot position. One of the things that we really...
I feel like that's, like, kind of underwhelming. Landing gear still broken? Yeah, I mean...
We spent quite a bit of time investigating and kind of really trying to kind of nail the...
This is the only acceptable patch every year where there should be a deadline, like a super hard, fast deadline. This is the only time that that's okay, because they didn't push this patch out to sell ships. They pushed this patch out because it's been a very long year and it's time to take a break, right? And that's it. I do feel like on the content side, it feels like they take an incredibly long break, like way too long. But from the game development side, it is a much deserved one. I think it's perceived that they take too many breaks because of the way the video content is handled. But I think that's only on that end.
Visuals on was the actual interactions with the cockpit. We wanted to make sure we weren't stepping on the toes of what we did in the Gattax cockpit, and it needed to be like its own unique thing. Elwin and the Austin team kind of really nailed that visually. It's got these really nice sort of slate buttons with all the Xi'an text in it. And one of the things we were really keen to do with kind of all of our alien ships is remove a lot of that human element. They may be made to be human compatible, but we really wanted them to feel like they're native race was the people that built it, and that's who it was made for, as number one. And so we've got these kind of really nice interactive tablets with all the Xi'an text on them. Do have a number of paints coming out with the SaltEMike. They are still currently just being developed and signed off as we're filming this now. Again, we tried to kind of do something not necessarily...
Okay. The white one's cool. The white one's cool.
Kind of completely new, but kind of just push the bar slightly with what we're trying to do. It's that kind of fine thing where alien doesn't always mean fancy and unique, but we do want it to feel a little bit different.
Everything but the stock one is good.
To what our kind of human races are. It's very obvious when you see the silhouette of the ship and when you see it in flight what it is. But
I think this ship, the problem, I don't know. Ghoulish green was like one of my favorite skins, but I don't like the green, I guess, as much, because when you put the skins on it, I'm like, all right, the ship looks a lot better.
Paints is kind of that little icing on top, and also it kind of gives that really nice read when you get up and close and personal with it.
The SaltEMike is a fighter through and through. It really excels at that. It doesn't have any secret hidden features, but it does have all of our latest tech and features within it, such as weapon racks, personal storage, and accessible components. So this ship is really for those who prize maneuverability and position in combat. The firepower...
Did anyone just hear what he just said? I can't with these fucking people.
...in position in combat.
Let's listen to this.
Tech and features within it, such as weapon racks, personal storage, and accessible components.
Let's listen to this
So
again.
this ship is really for those who prize maneuverability and position in combat.
So everybody who's ever combated ever in their entire life in this game. So everybody. Okay, this is he basically just said this is the best ship in the game. Who doesn't want that? What are we talking about here?
The firepower of the ship is pretty good for its size, but its real strength is its maneuverability.
Okay. And did they fix the guns for this patch, or are we coming in with the like overpowered guns as they stated? Basically, in case you guys aren't aware, and they might go into the weapons are very similar to like Panther repeaters, but they fire quicker. So I think they're size 3, just like Panthers, but they have like a faster rate of fire. They said they wanted to fix them for live. I think there's a lot of things they wanted to fix for live that they didn't. So, yeah.
So that's the SaltEMike, available in 322. And we think it's going to be a great addition to our lineup of fighters and alien ships. Just like the other ones, it's great for those players who want that role, but just want something a bit more stylish and exotic.
You notice they show it just dominating vanguards?
From there, let's go from space combat and atmospheric combat down to the surface and talk about the Origin X1 series.
The X1 is Origin's first hoverbiking game.
I rode this thing on the PTU. I didn't think I was going to care. It's super fun.
It's their kind of answer to some of the other hoverbikes we've already got from different manufacturers, like the Nox, the Dragonfly. This bike was kind of developed alongside the 400i in its concept phase, and the idea was that this is that kind of classic, smaller kind of day vehicle that you can take out from your big, exciting explorer ship. Those two kind of go hand in hand. It has its own little garage at the front of the 400i, and it really just allows you to, once you land on planet, you can then kind of leave everything back in your ship and go out and explore and kind of chase down the thrills of the planet on a nice little hoverbike.
Yeah, I mean, nobody does that, though. Like unless you're just pretending, nobody really does that. I think the only real application for it is like a jump town situation, like drop this off and then have that really, really, really low signature that bikes like this have. But yeah, I don't think anybody does that. So these guys have literally become car salesmen, these two. It's like, it's brutal to watch sometimes. They're literal car salesmen. It's become a part of their position, is to not just make the ship, but bullshit you on it.
sure the more enterprising of you out there will be finding all different ways of getting these into places they shouldn't be, such as the upcoming distribution centers.
This is how they're selling it. Be annoying.
I think one of the things that's been kind of super nice to see as the bike's kind of gone through its development is really selling the idea of this bike being a hover bike. We've got a lot of VFX and lighting going in from the teams, really selling it that it does feel like a bike in the future. We've got these nice brake lights at the rear, we've got the kind of front lights, and one of my favorite bits on it is actually the cockpit, the kind of like the driver's space. The dashboard in there looks super nice, really sleek, kind of classic Origin, and it all flows really nicely with the rest of the shapes.
The X1 series is a series of 3 bikes that allow Origin to have their own edge of the market in terms of hover bikes and to have 3 different play styles within them. With the X1 Force, this is designed to aid in ground combat, allowing you to be on a speedy, small profile target with some shielding to allow you to absorb a few hits and help engage combat. And then we have the Velocity, which removes the weapon hardpoint and instead gains speed. Whilst tuning is underway at the time of recording, we intend the X1 Velocity to be a competitor to the Nox, and both of those are designed to be faster than the Dragonfly, which is more utilitarian.
It is
so
fast.
The Velocity is a great addition to the ground racing community and will be right at home in all the ground racing tracks. The base X1 is there to provide an option for those of you who don't like.
Hey, they just showed you Dar Valley. That's not a ground racing track. So how does that work? Is that still, do they have any actual dedicated ground racing tracks? I haven't really done racing since it's come into the game. I don't know. It's one of those things where, because Dar Valley has the one that goes up. They said community. Yeah, it sounds like player-made stuff.
The Nox, or just don't like whatever aesthetic you think Drake users have. And speaking of Drake aesthetics, that moves us nicely on to the last ship of 322, the Drake Cutter Rambler.
The Cutter Rambler is our 3rd variant of the Cutter series, and it kind of rounds off the series as a whole.
As we talked about at CitizenCon, the Drake Cutter family was always designed as a family of 3, and we've shown you the base one and the Scout. The Rambler is the 3rd one, and it is designed from the start to be the more fleshed out premium starter explorer combination of the 3. I know premium and Drake might be a bit of a weird juxtaposition there.
They are a very functional manufacturer and no frills manufacturer. That really kind of is sold nicely on the interior space. We've sacrificed some of the rear cargo space for the larger habitation.
Yo, how are you making, how are they making the Cutlass steel, but the Cutter? This is the Cutter steel, dude.
Allows extra space for both a suit locker, a food machine, and somewhere to eat that food, and a nice little table to chill at.
But even within that habitation, you can see how they've moved the bulkhead back one, they've moved the bathroom, they've opened up this nice space, and then they put, you know, a seat, a desk, a little jump seat, and the bare minimum you need as a pilot going out and exploring our universe.
They just sold you the interior that doesn't do anything. But I'm the kind of person that you sell that to, because I like interiors of ships. So there are people out there that that care about those things. Okay? But I'm not this one, like I do love interiors of ships. That's like, I don't actually get drawn to the exterior of ships that much. I get drawn to the interior of ships and how it will feel. But everything else about the ship is still a Drake Cutter, so I don't know, man.
We want to make sure there's visually some differences on the exterior. So we've got the kind of visual-only differences, such as the kind of like the modified rear section. We've also got the kind of more functional stuff. So on top, it's got the extended fuel tank. Visually, we kind of lent into the idea of having your Winnebago. Or
remember when the Cutter had like 5,000 fuel? Was that this? That was probably this the whole time.
Or your camper van or whatever it might be, and it's got this kind of like roof rack aesthetic, but it's actually kind of stores all the extra kind of fuel for the extended fuel tanks. And then as with the Scout, we've got the change in the...
Wait, I haven't flown the Cutter in a while. It still does? So how much fuel does this, how much fuel do I need?
Thrusters, and again, we've got a unique set of thrusters on a new nacelles on each side that really help kind of just break up that silhouette a little bit more variation, with the Rambler being kind of a longer range or an...
Somebody in chat says they want to pick this one up. That's totally fine. Like, the Cutter's really cool. It just comes down to, if you are interested in doing any sort of ship combat, this one really, I think it really struggles with it.
Extended range vehicle. I think having the kind of like the slightly smaller, they look a little bit more efficient on the engines rather than these great big kind of individual engines. You've got these slightly smaller, more of them, individual thrusters. I'm very happy with the Rambler. One of the things that we kind of really tried to lean into when we were developing the Rambler was Drake's kind of mentality towards building their ships. I think it kind of ticked that box of exactly what Drake would do. They've got this chassis, they want to make somewhere you can spend a bit more time in, somewhere that's a little bit more comfortable, but they're still kind of working to that Drake budget and design ethos. So I'm very happy with how it turned out.
The Rambler really takes the base.
Don't you feel like this is basically the interior that should have been in all the other ones?
Cutter to the next level in terms of living on board.
Level.
I think we all saw that when the Cutter came out, but it was very much more of a camper van than an RV, which is what the Rambler is.
RV gameplay, guys.
So that's...
We have gotten to the point where we are making camper vans and RVs because we can't make gameplay.
The wrap up of all the new vehicles coming to
That's
the
where we're
Persistent
at
Universe
right now.
in 322, and as always, we look forward to
What else
seeing
are they
you
gonna
all
talk
use
about?
them and abuse them in all different ways in the live game.
Now, of course, Alpha 322 comes with more than just vehicles. There's structural salvage, openable cargo containers, new derelict settlements, new hairs for players, new maps for Arena Commander, and more.
What?
But since this is our last episode of the year, we have a tradition here at ISC of looking back at everything that's happened the last 12 months and reliving some of our favorite moments. And, well, look, 2023 was good. Great even if you gloss over that little rough patch in the middle there.
It really was. It actually was.
But heading into the new year, all that I can really think about is everything that's on the horizon that's about to make 2024 the biggest and baddest year of our project yet.
Oh, okay. That upsets me. I'm literally editing a video, and he's probably going to make everything that I was saying wrong.
So if it's all right with you, I'd like to indulge myself, maybe switch out my CIG cap and put my backer hat on, and tell you what has me excited about this next year for the Persistent Universe in a segment that I'm calling Disco Lando's Star Citizen 2020 Forecast. Now, without talking specific dates, let's discuss what...
Why do this? Why even do this? This should not be done in an official capacity at all. This is really, really just not a good thing to do. They never learn their lesson, do they?
What's being targeted and currently on track for release in just the first half of 2024, starting with Master Modes, the new way to pilot and operate ships we've been discussing since CitizenCon 2952.
Bro, you're telling me every single ship is going to have Master Modes on it when all we currently are testing is 4? Okay. I already don't believe you.
Now, whether that's every ship or a staggered rollout of groups of vehicles depends on how work progresses. But it's amazing.
How are... Bro, no. No. Nope. Nope. You don't get to do that. You don't get to tell us that we have to wait 2 years for Master Modes. I did not pre-watch. I have no idea, and I'm actually fuming right now. You don't get to tell us that we have to wait 2 years for Master Modes because everything has to come at the same time to just say you're going to ship a few ships at a time. The only way you could do this is through Arena Commander. Nope. No. Not okay. Not okay with me. I think that's such a weird thing to do. How does that play? How do you play with master mode ships and non-master mode ships in the same build? You can't. That's insane. Ships that can beam at 1,200 meters per second and ships that can only be in combat at 300. So I'm calling it now. They're going to say that combat ships or master modes is released in Arena Commander. That's what they're going to say.
Major change to the way spaceships operate in the persistent universe, and you can be sure that we'll update on it more when the time comes.
But they'll
and of
sell
course,
it as
when your
released.
ships aren't in flight, they can be stored in the newly persistent hangars that are arriving with freight elevators, freight kiosks, and the new cargo transaction system that we've shared on both ISC and this year's CitizenCon.
I believe this
now,
one.
All combined, they form the next major evolution of cargo careers and will also have far-reaching, broader implications for the entire Star Citizen experience. And then outside of vehicles and hangars, there's also a variety of FPS combat improvements coming to the first half of 2024, with improvements to reloading, the weapon wear and misfire system, scopes and dynamic crosshairs, and
those are pulled directly from CitizenCon, by the way. Those are not new videos. Those are not new development videos.
charge and drain, and even more we'll be able to show you once we return in the new year. And then outside of strictly FPS combat, there are new player character features coming, like the updates to the EVA system, the visor and lens system, loot screens, default item interactions in the personal interaction system, and there's even new shopping and mission apps in development now.
I believe all of this. Yes. I even with the pace that they're getting some sitcom things into, that they got into in 2023, like somebody made a comment on my YouTube video that, well, maybe not the shopping apps. I don't know what the deal is with that, but the interactions, yeah. The looting screen, maybe. The EVA was supposed to be at the end of this year. The star map was supposed to be at the end of this year. I don't believe a lot of things. A lot of the big ticket things are coming in 2024 from
and while we're
CitizenCon,
talking about apps, the first half of 2024 is also currently scheduled to see the arrival of our new character customizer.
Bro, I thought he was gonna say star map. He knows what he just did.
With things like tattoos, piercings, scars, and yes, Virginia, it's true, beards. And as for how many and of what kind, only Andre knows for sure, but you can bet we're gonna ask him sometime around March. And then, of course, if you're in-game, there's also a little thing called Mobiglass and an awfully big thing called Star Map. They're both getting their big updates in the first half of next year. And
We'll
have I
see.
mentioned those enormous distribution centers that'll be the new microcosm homes for every gameplay and
Nope.
mission feature that exists in Star Citizen?
No
as well as
shot.
the 4, 5, 6, let's just say several new and updated vehicles that are making their way to the persistent universe in just the first 6 months of 2024? I did. Just now. Now you can check those off. Whew. Okay, so real talk. CIG hat back on. Now, you're probably
It's the same
looking
hat.
at your screen and saying to yourself, what about Pyro and 4.0? Well, don't fret. The things that we just covered are those that aren't too dependent on continuing foundational tech work like server meshing. So we feel
Exactly.
pretty confident in targeting every
Persistent hangars, though, kind of are. Right? In a way, probably, because it's got some networking going on. Because we're going into our own instance.
everything that we just
Aren't
shared
we?
for the first 6 months. But when it comes to something as enormous as the complete Pyro system in Alpha 4.0, well, that's where the new preview channel comes into play.
Yep.
Now that said, Alpha 4.0 is currently targeting a summer 2024 release, but that won't mean that you have to wait until then to play it or learn more about it. That's because in 2024, we'll continue doing play tests like the one we just completed, and you'll be able to follow along with its development firsthand on the preview channel. That's the planets, moons, space stations, settlements, and outlaw lifestyle that comes within the Pyro system, but also an entire host of additional new features, content, and quality of life improvements like, fully functional jump points, the new quantum travel system, new vehicle HUD and MFD work.
I don't think they're committing to I need to listen to this again.
Like server meshing. So we feel pretty confident way to the persistent universe in just the first 6 months of half of next year. And how consoles that are making their way to the persistent universe in just the first 6 months of 2024? I did. Just now. We just shared for the first 6 months. But when it comes to something as enormous as the complete Pyro system in Alpha 4.0, well, that's where the new preview channel comes into play. Now that said, Alpha 4.0 is currently targeting a summer 2024 release, but that...
Why even say that?
won't mean that you have to wait until then to play it or learn more about it. That's because in 2024, we'll continue doing play tests like the one we just...
How do you get 10 years? I still don't, like, why have a roadmap, right? Why do the changes to the roadmap if you're just going to ignore everything that they did to it, right? Yeah, it could happen. They said targeting, right? Like, I see what you guys are saying in chat. Let's talk in September 2024, right? And see where we're at. They could be ahead of schedule for all we know. Who knows? Okay, nobody knows, not even, and the thing is, not even them. Okay, so the idea here of the last 10 years of just talking out of your ass and talking 9 months ahead of time, like any of this is even valuable information whatsoever, is just not the case. It isn't. It never will be. And that's the reason why they went from showing you a year out in the roadmap to showing you a month out, 2 months out, because it never made sense. Yet they continue to do it anyway in their other avenues of communication, and it just never made sense to do it. So you're completely undermining all the, in my opinion, good things that you've done with the roadmap and just show what's coming ahead. And then if you've noticed, there haven't been too many things fall off the roadmap. There haven't been too many freakouts about things. But people are now going to say, well, you said server meshing in 2020, or no, I think 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and now September 2024. Just don't say anything. You know, just don't say anything. And just say, we're going to keep plugging at it, and it'll come when it comes. It's that simple, dude. Everybody knows that it's super foundational. Everybody experienced PES. And I'm not going to lie, I think we needed to. Because when we experienced PES, it was like, all right, this big tech stuff needs to cook. They don't need to be rushing this stuff out to us. And that's it. Like, for me, I'm not one of those people that needs I don't need server meshing and jumping to Pyro right now. I need everything else that they talked about in the first 6 months. A lot of that was like quality of life, usability things, right? I need progression. I need economy. I'm not one of those people that needs to be jumping between two systems. I don't care. So, my preference is to not experience 318 again. And that's why that Pyro preview channel, and like, as we know, they did the replication layer stuff. That's why that's so important. So, yeah.
Completed, and you'll be able to follow along with its development firsthand on the preview channel. That's the planets, moons, space stations, settlements, and outlaw lifestyle that comes within the Pyro system, but also an entire host of additional new features, content, and quality of life improvements like, fully functional jump points, the new quantum travel system, new vehicle HUD and MFD work, resource management, hacking, and much, much more, all being worked on in tandem. The preview channel...
This is why those, like, dummies that have been, like, constantly spamming the new quantum travel thing, that's not coming until September 2024. It's never even going to look like that. Who cares?
We'll let you and us test 4.0 together while maintaining the stability of the persistent universe with all those other great additions we just discussed. And then, in the summer of 2024, 2 become 1, and we can avoid that thing that didn't quite go the way that we'd hoped.
You hope. They said the holiday live stream.
Holiday live stream?
And then just because we're...
I hope Jared made any employee that works on the video team have to watch the holiday live stream.
cheeky, there are still some things better left for you to discover on your own. And don't forget, we haven't even talked about the back half of the year yet. All in all, 2024 is shaping up to be the watershed year for Star Citizen. And if we've learned anything this year, it's that through the trials of 318 to the successes of CitizenCon and everything in between, before that and coming up next.
What's a watershed year? I've never heard of that. An event or period that is important because it represents a big change in how people do or think about something. Yeah, that's probably true.
Star Citizen is a project that continues to iterate, to evolve, and to embody an experience you simply can't find anywhere else, whether that's in the universe or within our community that makes all this possible. So thank you for helping us reach the heights that we have, and buckle up for the journey still ahead. We're in for one hell of a year. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next year.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that just happened at the end, but...
So if it's all right with you, I'd like to indulge myself, switch out my CIG cap, and put my backer hat on.
I mean, I think they put their clown hat on and their clown shoes and their clown nose there a little bit at the end. That was the exact opposite of what I think they should be doing, but whatever. I think people are going to be like, you know, super hyped for next year and all that stuff. Yeah, everything that came in from CitizenCon that is in 322 is not very polished. And that's really all I'm going to say for right now. The on that, at least. The ships look cool. The cutter one is super weird. Hair? Well, maybe I don't think about the character customizer very much because it never saves, right? The so that, I guess, is much better than it was before. I'm really talking about the settlements, the armor, and stuff like that. I do think they mentioned the cloud update. Someone did that. It just, yeah, they wanted to let it cook a little longer. So, but dude, I don't know what to say really on some of this stuff. The end there has got me like pretty heated. It's just one of those things where like, why are we still doing this, man? It just comes down to, I don't know who that's for, because new backers know that's all bullshit. And old backers, well, they just believe anything, I guess. So maybe it's for them. But missed your thoughts on armor. What's wrong about it? It's not armor. It's clothing. It's not usable anywhere, really. So it was just such a weird thing in the PTU and in 322. So yeah, guys, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I'm speechless right now.